So today we're going to start a new series on the life of Esther, the little girl who was an orphan who became queen. We don't know why she was an orphan, but her father and mother had both died and she was being raised by her older cousin Mordecai. But let's go back to the start of the story of Esther, and we've got a king, and he's called Ahasuerus, who's married to the Queen Vashti, and his kingdom reigned from over 127 different provinces, ranging from India to Africa to Greece and Europe, and over all this area that you can now see. And to celebrate in his third year of reigning, he decided to have a celebration or a party or a get-together for all these different nations and all these different countries, inviting all the popular people, the leaders in charge of all these countries. And many people came to this big celebration, and it never lasted one day or 1 week. In fact, as we read the book of Esther, it lasted for 180 days. Can you imagine 180 days? And after that time was up, now all the men is on one side and all the girls, all the women are on another side celebrating. But after that 180 days were up, all those people went back home again, and in the place of Shushan, where the king lived, he invited all the people who had helped him organize this celebration. And for 7 days they had a lovely feast, a lovely celebration. And again, the king was with all the men on one area of the palace, and the Queen Vashti was with all the girls and all the women. And at the end of it, after he had been drinking wine and was probably drunk, he asked his wife to come. He sent for the queen to come to celebrate in front of all the men how beautiful looking she was. But Vashti refused to come to the king. And the king said, no, tell her she needs to come and to show how beautiful she was. But she didn't come. She was no way. She wanted to stand in front of all those men, and they might whistle at her, they might shout at her, and they might make strange faces to her or make fun of her or whatever reason. But she insisted she would not come and stand before the men. Now all the people said to the king, do you realize you've asked your wife, the queen, to come and do something, and she's refused? If she gets away with this, all the wives of the men, whenever their husbands ask them to do something, there'll be disobedience. They'll cause disobedience, and they'll cause problems in the home. They'll rebel against their husbands, and there'll be chaos. And the king realized that. And as a result, the queen was no longer the queen of the palace. And the king stopped her being queen, stopped her being his wife, and he got rid of her out of the palace. And then the king was lonely. He wanted another queen. So he decided, how do I choose a queen? So he sent a message out to all the people in that area. Any girl who was pure, who was a virgin, who was never married, could come and enter, would come before the king, and whoever's the most beautiful, whoever pleased the king the most, would become the queen. Mordecai, who was an older man who was looking after his young cousin Esther, and here's Esther now, a young girl, and he tells her, Esther, how would you like to become queen? She goes, I'm an orphan. I have no hope, humanly speaking, in this world to survive. But you must remember, Esther really loved the Lord with all her heart. She loved God, and she was a Jew, and so was Mordecai. And Mordecai told her that the king is looking for a new queen. He said, you're pure, you're a virgin, you're old enough, and you fit exactly what the king's looking for. And she was brought before with all her friends, and she had a period of time, maybe 6 weeks or 6 months, a period of time where she could make herself as beautiful looking as possible. And her friends would help her fix her hair, put on her makeup, make her dress as beautiful as possible. And then she came and she stood before the king. And the king, now this was Esther, and Mordecai said to her, Esther, you're an orphan, remember that. But more than that, you're a Jew. And the king does not like Jews, and all the people who work in the palace do not like the Jewish people, because they're God's people and they don't even like God. Never tell anyone that you're a Jew. Do not reveal to people that you're a Jew. And Esther went and she stood before the king. And whenever the king saw Esther, he fell in love immediately with her. And he said, that is a girl that I want to be the next queen. And he arranged it, and they get married. And this little girl, who was an orphan, no hope, humanly speaking, this girl Esther became the queen over half the world. And here she is, a little girl, no parents, no hope humanly speaking, but with God, he had got great plans, amazing plans, wonderful plans, because she was willing to put God first in our life. And you might think at school, or your home, or your situation, there's no hope for you. You don't have what other people have. But remember, if you have God in your heart and God in your life, God can do anything through you, providing you're willing to put Him first in everything.